This video is brought to you by CatBeast.com. Design your own custom snapbacks and hats.
Hey, what's up guys? MLT Magic Tricks here. So in this video, I'm going to be performing and then teaching you this easy to perform card trick that has a powerful effect. So I do recommend you stick around to learn this one. But really quickly, before we get into the performance, I just want to give a thank you to CatBeast for sponsoring this video. They have an amazing website where you can customize a big variety of hats, and I will be leaving the link in the description to CatBeast.com. So make sure you do check them out. And if you are new here to my channel, make sure you do subscribe with those post notifications on for more card and magic trick performance and tutorial videos like this one. And if you do enjoy this trick, make sure you leave this video a thumbs up. Now let's get straight into the performance. Okay, so I'm gonna start off this trick by giving the deck a riffle shuffle, just mixing up the cards. And from here, you guys have probably noticed the two red-backed cards I have face down on the table. So we're just going to be dealing with this first one right now. And from here, I would instruct my spectator to deal cards face down from the deck on top of the red card that I have on the table here. So I would give the deck over to my spectator and it would go ahead and do this. Guys, my spectator can deal as many cards as they want to from the deck. It is completely up to them. So let's say my spectator stops right here. Now we're just going to be dealing with these cards. We'll go ahead and get rid of the rest of the deck. We're just concerned with the cards that we have on the table. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and bring in the other red-backed card into play here. And currently, I would ask my spectator to now deal the cards again, but they are going to alternate piles this time. And I would tell them to go ahead and start with this one. So my spectator would go ahead and do this. They would just deal cards like so until they are out of cards, alternating piles. Now, once they are done dealing the cards, I would explain to my spectator that we are just concerned with the cards that made their way to the top of each pile. So we're going to go ahead and separate these cards right here, and we're going to discard the rest of them. But before I do that, I just want to show you guys that these are all random cards. As you can see, these are in no particular order or anything. We started with a shuffled deck. My spectator could have dealt as many cards as they wanted to, and that would have changed which cards we ended on here. Now, we're going to take a look at the cards that made their way to the top of each pile. So in this case, we have the 8 of clubs and the King of diamonds. And it may seem impossible that the two red-backed cards that have been on this table the entire time are actually the 8 of clubs and the King of diamonds, making for a perfect match. So guys, that is the card trick. I hope you enjoyed this one, and if you want to learn how to perform this awesome card trick, make sure to stick around for the tutorial. Okay, so I hope you guys enjoyed that performance, and now let's get straight into the tutorial for this card trick. So I would definitely classify this one as a beginner level trick, which is great because it is a perfect trick for anyone to perform. And all you need for this trick is a set of duplicate cards. So you're going to take out two cards that can be any two from another deck, preferably one that has a different colored back from the main deck that you're using. So I just took out the 8 of clubs and the King of diamonds, and then I found the corresponding cards in the main deck here, as you can see. And now I am going to explain the setup that you're going to want to do. So the first thing that you need to keep note of is the way that these cards are positioned on the table. You just basically need to know which card is which. So what I did was I just placed one card on top of the other, and I placed the 8 of clubs on top of the King of diamonds. So I know that the 8 of clubs is going to be the first card that I'm essentially going to bring into play for this trick. That is important because it affects how you're going to set up these two cards on top of the deck. So since I'm bringing in the 8 of clubs first, that card goes on top of the deck first, followed by the second card there, the King of diamonds. So that is all you need to do. It's really simple. Just remember the first card you place on the deck corresponds to the first card that you're bringing into play for the trick, and then you just place the second one right on top. So that is the only setup for this trick, and you're ready to go. So you can go up to your spectator, start off by giving the deck a riffle shuffle. Just make sure you keep your setup cards there on top of the deck. You can also do some false cuts if you want to make it seem like you're mixing up the cards, but in reality, you are keeping your two setup cards on top of the deck. Now, at this point, you're going to bring in the first card that's on the table. In this case, that is the 8 of clubs for us. You're just going to bring it to the center, make sure you keep it face down, and you're going to explain to your spectator that they are going to deal off cards one at a time, face down from the deck on top of the card that's on the table here. So what you can do, after you explain that, is hand the deck over to your spectator, and it is very important that you keep track of the exact amount of cards that your spectator deals on the table here. So that is the main part of this trick. You need to keep track of how many cards your spectator deals. So as they're dealing, you're keeping track in your head. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Let's say the spectator goes up to 15, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Once again, they can deal as many cards as they want to. So if they deal a lot of cards, you really need to focus and keep track of how many cards they deal. So once they stop, we have the number in mind, 15. You're going to place the rest of the deck off to the side. And all you're concerned with is if the number of cards they dealt is an even number or an odd number. So in this case, 15, that's an odd number. And I'll explain why that is important in just 1 second. So after they have dealt the cards, you're going to pick them up and you're going to tell your spectator, okay, we're going to bring in the second card that I have face down on the table into play. You're going to go ahead and place it down here and make sure you keep track of which card is which. So remember, we have the 8 of clubs, king of diamonds. Make sure you are focused and you know for sure which card is which, because this part of the trick is very important. Now, your spectator is going to start dealing cards, one at a time, switching off between piles. And depending on if the number of cards they dealt was even or odd, that affects which pile of cards that they start dealing from. Now, here's what I mean by that. So if the amount of cards that they dealt was even, which is not our case right now, say they dealt 16 cards, that's an even number, they are going to start dealing on the first card that you brought into play, in this case, the 8 of clubs. They are going to start dealing on the card that has been, on the table first that you brought into play, in this case, the 8 of clubs. And if the amount of cards that they dealt was odd, like 15, which is our case here, they are going to start dealing on the second card that you brought into play, which is the king of diamonds. So I hope that made sense. It's really easy. You just need to know which card is which and how many cards that your spectator dealt. So in this case, we have an odd number of cards. So if I was performing this to my spectator, I would tell them, okay, go ahead and start dealing cards in this pile, just alternating, one to the other. And one more time, if they had an even number, you would tell them, okay, go ahead and start dealing in this pile. That's all you need to do. It's very simple. So at this point, the trick is basically, self-working. So they're going to start dealing. We had an odd pile. They're going to start dealing here. They're just going to alternate like this. And the reason you do that is because you need to get the correct card that, ends on the top here that corresponds to the cards that we have on the table. So if we do that correctly, we should have right here the king of diamonds and then the 8 of clubs on top. So don't turn them over quite yet. Just place them off to the side. Tell your spectator that these cards are going to be very important, the cards that we ended on. You can do a quick recap here. Tell them that all these cards are random. We started with a shuffled deck. You as a spectator dealt as many cards as you wanted to, and that obviously would have changed the cards that we have here. In reality, it didn't change them, but your spectator is going to think that. Make sure you do make that point. Now you're going to go ahead and turn these cards over, explain that these are completely random cards, and now for the reveal, you can do whatever you want to, snap your fingers, make sure you do explain that these cards have been on the table the entire time. You turn them over and reveal the perfect match that you had. So that is the card trick. There is really no sleight of hand involved. It is just you memorizing how many cards your spectator dealt and knowing if it's, an even or odd number, and explaining to them which pile to start dealing the cards when they, deal again for the second time, alternating between pile to pile. Now, I hope everything I explained made sense. I definitely recommend you guys give this trick a try. It will blow all of your spectators' minds. They will truly be fooled by this amazing card trick. So that's going to do it. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you guys in my next video. Peace out.